I always want to do the Wayne's World countdown when we're doing this in the background. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to another installment of Portland Cocktail Week classes. My name's Michael Moberly, trying to do the Wayne's World countdown as usual. Today, we have the amazing Kapri Robinson with us. I'm so excited to have her here. We're going to talk a little bit about why garnishing is an integral part of cocktails. I know that there's such a movement for minimalism in drinks. I think this is going to be an awesome conversation about why that is important, why that's not necessarily important, kind of a little bit of both of those ideas. But before we dive in and cannonball into this amazing conversation and beautiful garnish, I want to ask you to do a few things for me. First, like us on Facebook. If you like us on Facebook, when we do these things, they pop up. I know, like Capri's Classic, you're just sitting in your house scrolling on your phone maybe, and this popped up. That's how that happens. If you like us there, then you can find that stuff out. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/pdxcw. There, all of our classes live forever. So if you watch this class or other classes we've done in the past, and you're like, oh, I wish I could share this with my friends, it's there forever. So you can go back and look at that, which we love. And then lastly, follow us on Instagram. We have so much stuff coming up. We're going on tour with Econo. We'll be at Bartenders Weekend. Camp is coming up. And the best way to find out about all that information is going to Portland Cocktail Week at PDXCW, which is our Instagram. And of course, as always, make sure you ask the questions of Kapri. I'll pop in. If you got comments, let me know. Feel free to share this, like, all that fun stuff. Ask the questions. Kapri and I are not afraid to ask questions of each other. Please jump in. How are you today, Kapri?
I'm doing amazing. I'm really excited about this. Garnishing is important to me, so I'm glad I get to talk about this.
Oh, me too. And I'm excited because you're doing all NA cocktails for us today, correct?
I am. It's going to be great.
I know. I mean, like going into St. Patrick's Day next week and just like after, the crazy couple months we've had, it's nice to take a little break. But so often I get these questions of how do I make my NA drinks pop a little bit more? Let's talk. Let's jump right in.
Let's do it. Awesome. Well, once again, I'm Kapri Robinson, you all. I am the founder of Chocolate City's Best, nonprofit pushing Black and Brown people to the forefront of the industry. I'm also a co-host and co-owner of Soul Palette Podcast, founded Empowering the Diner, and I do lots more. So check me out at capri.possible on Instagram. But let's go ahead and get into the slides. So this is called Garnishing on Purpose, elevating your garnishes for an intriguing experience. So let's go. Next slide. Hey, slides. So just the overview of what's going on, which you all saw also on the flyer, but garnishing serves a purpose. I will be speaking on why garnishing is integral to an experience. I will point out ways in which your environment plays a part in a great garnish. I will give examples of intriguing and interactive garnishing and explain why this will elevate your guest experiences. I will show the importance of sustainable and meaningful garnishing, and I hope to encourage you to create more intriguing experiences in the future. Next slide. So why should you garnish, right? A garnish is the finishing touch to a phenomenal cocktail. They can entice any of the five senses, which is one of my favorite things and what we're going to go into today. Most noticeably, garnishing is usually for the eyes or usually, for your sense, but they can do so many more things. So today we're going to talk through the senses and how to incorporate them into your garnishing. Let's go. So for the eyes, first and foremost, cocktails are seen, right? Before they're ever touched, before you ever drink them, you are going to be seeing that cocktail. So it's kind of important for it to look pretty good, right? Especially in the world of social media nowadays, you definitely want something that can grab someone's attention when they see it. They're visually drinking that cocktail. And I just think this is super important. Why? Because when people tag your cocktails on social media, grows more engagement, grows more experience. People sharing and liking, and gets you more people in the door. So I just think that is super important. Some things that I think can also, pop off a visual of your cocktail are different things like big herb crowns, so something like a big dill bush or mint. Or you could do color contrasting types of things. So one thing I like to do is like if I have an all green cocktail, maybe putting something that's red or a pop of white on top And reason why I like to do this is just kind of gives that ooh, that moment for your guests to be seeing this cocktail. But what's really important is that the ingredients that you are putting on top or using for your garnish or something that ties back to what you're using in the cocktail also. So we're going to do that first. So I'm going to make our first cocktail for you, or in a beverage for you all today. So this is going to take a tropical style of a taste and flavors to go along with our Perrier pineapple. So first thing I'm going to do is actually take a few pieces of mango.
I love mango. I'm excited
I
about this.
love mango. And I'm like finally being an adult and buying more of it in a grocery shop.
I mean, salt and pepper on a mango is a thing I taught my wife. She like blew her mind out. Now we have to keep it around. So
like, pay attention, girl. Like, eat your fruits, babies. Next thing up, I'm gonna do some lemon juice. About 1 ounce of that. I'm gonna muddle my mango pieces. I decided because I have fresh mango, that's why I'm doing mango pieces. I do also like to use mango nectar. I do think that's good too.
Mango nectar, or like a puree.
But it's like hard to find mango nectar that's not Goya.
Yeah, I get that.
You all know about that. Next, I'm gonna do a salt and pepper honey. Pretty much just made a 2-to-1 honey syrup, and I threw in a 1/4 teaspoon of ground pepper, and then I salted it to taste, and it's kind of savory and cool.
When you do that, do you fine strain the pepper out, or like cook it with the pepper in and then strain it out, or do you leave the pepper in?
I've left the pepper, so it's transforming as it's been sitting for the past couple of days. And then I also cooked some coconut into some cashew milk. So I have a coconut cashew milk that I'm going to put into this too.
All right. If this is how you're starting your day, you're saying you're about to go to work later. Like, this is nutrient bowl too, which I love.
Yes, it is. It really is. Like, just good for the soul and good for you. I'm going to whip shake this really quick with 2 little pieces of pebbled ice. And we're going to kind of build this. I mean, we're getting real tropical, y'all. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to kind of make like a coconut mango mojito style
Love it.
Bev. So I'm going to drop some mint at the bottom of my glass here. Going to go ahead and whip shake. And then I'm going to strain it because I don't want too much of the mango pieces coming out.
Now, I heard the sound pew pew when you did that. Now, is that required in the recipe, or is that just a preference?
It is not required, but I do make a lot of sounds when I am shaking and stirring and things.
I am the same way. I definitely, especially in a quiet space. So
yes, which is me right now in this house. So, and then I'm going to top it off with some pepper ice. Forgive my messiness already.
it just makes the drink look extra refreshing. So that is a garnish in and of itself.
Right? So I'm just going to stir this up just a little bit with the mint at the bottom there. And the best part of the drink is about to happen right now, where we're going to pop open our pineapple Perrier.
Love those Perrier flavors.
Yes, pineapple is delicious, super tropical, and it's like not too sweet. You know, it's like we're still light, like soda water. And I'm going to do 3 ounces of that right there. Then I'm going to top it off with a little bit more pebbled ice. This looks really good, actually.
I mean, I'm very jealous. If I wasn't in Reno, I would be at your doorstep.
And then one of the things, because I use the mint leaves, I'm going to use mint crown right on top of my cocktail. A little smack, smack. Next up, I used mango. So I wanted to take the mango skins and turn it into a bit of a rose, which also
Wow.
adds a pop of color here with the orange and the green. I'm gonna put that on top. And then also just some of my leftover coconut. I toasted it a little bit, and I'm gonna just drizzle right on top of my mint garnish. And I'm still a little bit messy. But yes, that's our first. I forgot to name these. So pineapple and coconut.
Love it.
Style.
That
So
mango skin garnish can be done ahead of time, right? Like I mean,
yes.
that can stay for a long time.
Oops, super easy. Wow, I have too much stuff. Sorry, guys. It's super easy to do. The mango skins were a little bit slippery, so it takes a little while, but just go ahead and roll it up. I took 2 pieces of like thinner sliced mango skins and then rolled them together. And it just came out really pretty and, pop of orange. And I just think this is just something that could be good for, once again, Instagramming, right? You want something that people are like, wow, I remember last time I was here, it had mango skin on it. They always are like, last time I was here, something with a good, beautiful garnish can help them to remember what exactly they were having. So I'm good.
And when you have a cocktail with a big crown like that, when that gets dropped, everyone around is looking at that being like, what is that? I want to know what that is right away.
Exactly. All right, so we're gonna go on to the next. So that's a little bit about eyes and visual and something that's kind of like extravagant and fun and exciting. I think that's awesome. So we're gonna go on to a little bit about nosing cocktails. Garnishes can take the taste of your cocktail one level up, right? So by adding something that has a complementary scent can also help your cocktail. Not help, but like kind of give it that extra oomph to it. So these are some things like you notice on old fashions, right? You have that orange peel or your martinis with that lemon oil. That always accentuates that cocktail for you. And complementary scents can just give the perception that that ingredient or that flavor is in the cocktail or goes with the cocktail. And I just think these are very important because it's just like, I mean, who doesn't like something that smells good? I love things that smell good. I nose first. Like after I see my cocktail before I drink, I nose my cocktails. And sometimes when I don't smell something, I'm like, man. Or if you get that egg white smell, you don't really want that. So just having something over top of your cocktail is really nice. Some examples that I have here for you are, of course, citrus peels. So that oil that you can get from a lime, an orange, or grapefruit. Fresh mint, which you saw in the last one. So smelling that fresh herb, kind of just like brightening up that cocktail was really nice. A little bit of spritzing. So I put here rapid infusion. So this is a good way to reuse your ingredients, right? So if you're using, like say I wanted to infuse this mango maybe into a Ray and Nephew rum, right? I could have did that with a rapid infusion, which is usually looks like using an ISI, putting in your Ray and Nephew, putting in your mango skins, and charging it twice with some nitro, shaking it, gassing it out. And when you take it out, you have an aromatic Ray and Nephew spirit that you could put into an atomizer that you can spritz on top of a cocktail. And you can do that with any of your leftover ingredients from your cocktails, which gives it just that extra use that you're using and putting it a little bit more into the cocktail itself, which I think is great. And also flaming some spice. So spices are super sustainable, right? They last for so long behind your cocktail bar, behind your bar in general, whatever kind of bar that you're in. And I just think that one, people love flames, so we're giving that visual again, right? But also that smoke of that spice just gives an extra enticing nature to smelling that cocktail. So we're gonna go on to my second cocktail. And forgive me, I really want to clean this up, so I'm gonna get a napkin.
Clean it up. I'm glad. I love that. In reference to the nosing of cocktails, I was at Seattle Cocktail Week last week, and I saw so many people, and it's kind of new to me, at least seeing it as much as it has been recently. Everyone was nosing their cocktails before they drank it. Like I've been doing this for 15 years, and I do not remember a time when like everyone was putting their nose in a drink before they tasted it. And I was so excited for that. I was like, look at this. this is exciting because I mean I know the effort that goes into aromatizing a cocktail, and sometimes cocktails, ingredient choice is to increase the bouquet of a cocktail. And I especially when we're using bitters or other like intensely aromatic ingredients, I think that it's exciting to see that happen more in the consumer side of it. Me being super nerdy and other people watching this who love to also nose cocktails, Taylor down there, we've been doing that forever, but seeing kind of just people off the street like putting their nose in there first is so exciting, and I love
it.
that.
Really is. It really is. It just seems that people are like wanting more. Seeing what other parts of the cocktail they can get that isn't just drinking it and just tasting it. I don't know when I started doing it either, but I definitely am always like, let me smell what's going on. I see it at my at Allegory all the time, the bar that I bartend at, and I just love when people's faces brighten up. We have a cocktail called Daydreamer that is just like super green and herbaceous, a little bit of celery going on. And when people just take a whiff, they're like, oh my gosh. And, that's when their brain starts working like, is this in there? Is this in there? And this in there? It's like, it's not, but it's giving that, that note on that nose. So I'm glad that you're enjoying that. So going into this next cocktail, this is going to be something citrusy, a little bit up and fancy in a wine glass. So first we're going to have a little bit of lemon juice once again, because I just feel like I used too much lime and everything. So we did lemon today. So we're going to do an ounce of that. Next up, I created a clove lavender syrup. This looks like making a 1-to-1 simple syrup. I actually used ground cloves. Actually, sorry, no. What I did was I kind of did a tea. So I did ground cloves and lavender in a tea bag, and let that steep into water. And then from there, I did a 1-to-1 simple syrup. So I'm going to do 3/4 of that. Oh, yeah. I'm going to use some fresh dill in this cocktail because I think this fresh dill goes really, really well with the spiritless bourbon, which is a NA bourbon, Kentucky 74 spiritless bourbon. I'm going to use 2 ounces of that.
I love dill in cocktails. If I see dill on the list, like ingredients, I'm going to order it because I love dill.
Yes. I think people stay away sometimes. It might seem a little bit too savory, but it's just so fresh and something that's a little bit different, of course, than your mint. And then also what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and pop open my peach. I did peach with this cocktail because I just think it goes really well. Peach and like bourbon and whiskey go together well. So I just thinking it goes really well with the Kentucky 74, which has kind of like an earthiness and kind of like type of spice, which also plays well with the clove and lavender syrup. So we're going to do 3 ounces right into my wine glass. Oh, yeah.
I can hear the bubbles.
Oh, nice. I was going to say, I love bubbles. And we are going to shake this up. Woo!
That smile when you shake. I always make such a serious face when I shake. I always forget, like, you're supposed to be happy.
Smile. I used to have people yell at me and smile. like mentors kind of, right? Where we're just like, you need to smile when you shake. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's a thing. Wow, that looks so pretty. And then, of course, I'm going to take my dill. And just for that visual we were talking about, I'm going to put it right on top. But for the nose, which that is there, I have a hibiscus orange blossom spray, which is just going to add to a little bit of that floral and that green. I'm going to spray that right into here.
Ooh.
And then also, this might be a little bit overdoing it, but I just think it's great. I'm going to flame a little bit of ground cloves on top too.
Oh, dang.
To bring out a little bit of that clove nature. So there we go.
So you still have a minimal visual on
Yes.
this cocktail, but the complexity is in the aromatics. So I mean,
Yeah.
I always hear like, oh, I want my drink to look clean and precise and that kind of like mid-century modern, like clean lines vibe. But you can still have that and increase the garnish end of it by adding aromatics.
Exactly. And it, like you said, looks very clean. And it smells, I can already smell the cloves. I smell the hibiscus. Oh, this actually smells like a garden, which is really cool.
That's awesome.
And awesome. And the peach is also coming out of that too. But see, I'm already like, this is already going into my memory banks, right? So, like, smelling cocktails and scent in general is one of the things that triggers memories. So, I think that's really awesome to play into scent a lot for your cocktails so that people can kind of connect them, hopefully, to like some great memories back in their lives. And if not, that's creating that first memory of that smell. And when they smell it at other places, they can remember your cocktail. So, I think that's super awesome about that too. So, cheers.
I also think that those sensory memories create intrigue as well, right? Like the idea for me, like peach, dill, and clove aromatically in my brain. I'm like, I don't know what those things smell like. I'm excited to know what that is. I'm going to be making this cocktail. So
absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that for sure. So yes, y'all get into the nose, get into the scents of cocktails. They're fun. They're definitely the best way to sustainably use the rest of your ingredients, from prepping and different things like that. And I just think it's just great to elevate a little bit more. So let's go on to the next slide. I think this one is the yes for touch. Okay, so this one I had to think of like what really, incorporates touch into your cocktails. So you can use garnishes that are exciting to the fingers or even to the mouth. I was thinking of things that could be fuzzy. I'm like, what's fuzzy? Cotton candy. Or something that's like temperature extreme, right? Something that's a little bit hot over top. So that could be, you don't really want people playing with fire, but something maybe you warmed up really quick, or even a really cold glass could be like, ooh, like something that just sends a chill through the body. I just think all of these things are very, sensual and fun. And just once again, kind of playing with people's memories and kind of getting them enticed by the cocktail and like just sensory overload a little bit, which could be really great. Some examples that I have here are a frozen garnish, which I think is cool. Online, I saw someone, I was like literally writing this, and then I was on Instagram, and someone had like this, I think it was like Taste Mead, and they had this frozen cherry, and they just started like slicing it all slow, and you can hear it slicing. And I was like, ooh, yeah. So something frozen and cool could be awesome. An extremely cold glass or a cold type of mug, like julep mugs, right? For me, I always think about julep mugs as how cold they get, which is nice in the summertime, and you really love that. I was also thinking about, I said crackers here, or fruit crisps or cheese crisps, something that can be like broken or snacked. Is really fun and interactive. I think here for touch, getting interactive brings your guests a little bit closer to the cocktail and allows them to kind of have fun and, just experience some hands-on types of nature for your cocktail. So I thought that was really cool. Infused oils. So this I think is pretty cool, where you could possibly infuse, I would say maybe a coconut oil, an avocado oil, maybe infuse it with some ingredients that you might have had from your cocktail. So maybe infusing it with dill, infusing it with the mango skins, but just bringing it to the table. And not only are we playing with touch, where you can ask the guest to hold out their hand, drop a few drops, rub, and now we're playing with their scent. We're playing with the touch here, and then asking them to smell, and then asking them to taste their cocktail afterwards. That there is one fun, interactive. It feels nice and smooth. And then you're adding another layer of scent to the cocktail too, which they can have the whole time that they're smelling their cocktail. So I thought that could be really cool too.
I 100% love that sensory element in a cocktail. When you were talking about, crisps, I had a clarified hot buttered rum this last season, and they made a meringue, a really crispy meringue that went on top as like the crema, and you bit into it, and it like kind of, it was a very different experience to hit all those flavors, but it really like took apart the drink and created different elements to it, which I thought was fantastic. Shout out to Rum Sugar Lime here in Reno.
Shout out to you. Yeah, fun stuff. Like the crunch in the mouth is always great. You're like, oh, oh snap. I'm not trying to curse, sorry. But like, like it's really cool. I know that at Bar Mini here, they freeze like their Manhattan and you get to like crack it. I think within like, you get a little bit more sciencey in some of these areas with like the aviary where they have like, or I guess more bars are doing it now where they have like the smoke ice balls that you can like smash, and like people like smashing things. So let's give them something safe to smash.
Well, and I think it also allows for you to like pull your flavor Bible out and maybe find something texturally that is in that is complementary that you can add to give that playful element, which I think so often, how do we take our drinks to another level? It's like add a little play to it. I wrote a cocktail years ago where I had I made a coloring sheet for them. I made like a custom like coloring book sheet for them, and we pasted those in the bathroom. But it was just like I knew that drink was playful, and I knew the only way I could get people to try the weird things in it was to get them to play with me a little bit.
Yes. I love that. See, that is awesome. And really wanting the guests to kind of explore outside of themselves, right? Like, I think I get people all the time. It's like, I want to try something new. And you're like, well, what's new for you? Like, and how do I get you to do it? Because sometimes they're like, well, I don't know. But having to be able to play and kind of see it first or smell it first and all these different types of senses definitely draws them in to kind of get outside of that box of theirs. So that's super cool that you did that. I'm going to go to the next slide because I have a few examples online. So these are from Moody Mixologist and also the Cocktail Snob. I put these up because one, the cotton candy cloud that she put on top of there looks awesome because it literally looks like a thunder cloud on top of this coupe or wine glass, or I think it might be a wine glass. I don't know, or a coupe. But it looks awesome. That's something the guests can grab, pull apart, melt in the cocktail, which is super fun. Rims, right? Rims are also texturally there. Some people really like their salt and sugar rims. You can play around with different types of ingredients for rims. So here she had a graham cracker rim. She played with the temperature of that marshmallow, as you can see, is a little bit burnt. So that warmth that can touch the lip could be really nice. And then going in to sip the cold cocktail, that contrast can be really enticing and really nice. I know I keep saying the word enticing because I can't think of anything else. Sorry.
Well,
guys.
They are enticing. I want to dive right into these cocktails.
And then this other one, I put this one because of the super cold mug she has here. It just looks like, I'm a little bit warm right now. It's probably because I have my windows closed. But like, I want to grab that cocktail. I want to rub it on my face, rub it on my arms, because I just think like that burst of energy from something that's cold and chilled. Also, it's like, ooh, this cocktail, it's refreshing. And that cocktail looks really refreshing to me. So these are Moody Mixologist. Like, I like watching a lot of her page. If you don't follow her because it's really fun. She teaches you how to do some of these garnishes too. So shout out to her. Next slide. We're moving on to the next one. For taste. So, of course, the cocktail is all about taste. So how can you garnish with taste, Kapri? Well, let me tell you. Garnishing with taste can add an extra layer to your cocktail. So maybe you create a garnish with an ingredient that might have been left out of your cocktail to add a little bit more interaction for that cocktail. What I mean by that is maybe your cocktail is on the tartar side, very tart, very dry, and you add something on the side, maybe in a pipette or a dropper that is a little bit more sugar forward to balance out that cocktail and to transform that cocktail. When you're garnishing with something that adds a layer of taste, you're making a transformative cocktail. You have the cocktail as it begins, and then you have something different when it ends. And I think for that is just, super fun and a big wow factor for guests to remember. Oh, I remember this cocktail started here. It ended like this. I thought that was awesome. Took me on a journey. Right now we're telling a bit of a story in our cocktails, which people really enjoy also. Some examples I have here, I've already said a little bit, are pipettes, what is that? I don't know. Rims, definitely. Sorry. Floats. Oh, yes, floats. Duh. Like your New York Sour, right? Or even like your penicillin. Like that, you can't see it, but you can smell that. I mean, you can see it depending on how you make your penicillin, but you can smell that Lafroig on top. Rims, again, I put here because rims could get really cool, right? Maybe you dehydrate a liqueur, crush it up and put it on the rim. You can mix your sugars with different types of seasonings and different types of spices. You mix your salt with different types of sugars, which are really cool. Candied garnishes. So this could be like candied orange peels, I did candied snap peas the other day, and it just had like this really green nature to it. And I like candied it with sugar and a little bit of black pepper. And that just added just that extra. I told you all I love green. So it just kind of tasted like earth going into my mouth, like a sweet part of earth, which I really enjoyed. And flavored ice. Flavored ice is super cool, right? I think it's hard to get down depending on how you're doing it. I've played around with it, but people really have perfected flavored ice, which of course over time transforms your cocktail into probably a different color, which is playing with those visuals again. Could also add a little bit of different scents coming out of that ice too. Probably something floral. And I just think flavored ice is definitely a way to, once again, right, trying to reuse some of the stuff that the byproduct of whatever your prep is. You can definitely do it that way. And we just want to keep incorporating all the parts of all the things that we're using in our drinks. And I think these are definitely great ways to do that. So next slide. So here we have, once again, the cocktail stop and moody mixologist again. But look at that float there that she has on that cocktail. Just very great for visual purposes. Like, I really love that red sitting on top of that kind of clear white color. That just, people are going to remember that, right? People are going to go, last time I was here, I saw this kind of cocktail. And then also, as they're sipping, as they're drinking, that drink is changing, which is great. The Cocktail Snob on the other side made actually a pomegranate. I believe there's mango juice in that ice cube. That's an ice ball that she put in an ice mold. And I feel like this could be at any type of establishment. Any, if you're doing like higher end or just kind of like a cool neighborhood cocktail bar, I feel like flavored ice is really a way that anybody can treat a guest during their cocktails. And here she's pouring some ginger beer over it. But as that ice starts to melt, she's going to get that pomegranate, that mango flavorings and tropicalness coming into that drink. And that was that's a no ABV drink that she's making there with that ice. So these are really cool ways to do some, NAs, which I think is really fun. And people are wanting to be still intrigued drinking NAs. So I think that's really awesome. Next slide. Oh yeah. Uh-oh. Hello?
I'm sure. I think the next slide is taking its time, as technology likes to do.
I thought it was
me. But yeah, I to speak about that, adding like layering flavors, and adding tastes, like it is fun to dissect a cocktail and talk about its parts and how you can make them distinct in layered flavors and things like that. And I love the look of this ice ball. I thought it was sorbet, and I was like, oh, that looks beautiful, but I love the idea that it's an ice ball much more.
Right. I also thought it was sorbet too. I read the description. I was like, oh, snaps. Got real cool on that. I made a cocktail that had a pipette of a hibiscus infused Appleton Estate. And it kind of did like, I wanted it. Yeah, it was really delicious. And I kind of floated it. The idea was to taste the cocktail, which had honey and ginger, almost like a rum penicillin, dark rum, honey and ginger by itself, which was delicious. And then adding that extra pipette of that hibiscus infused Appleton Estate gave one, more ABV if you wanted it, two, some floral notes and some kind of like add a little bit more tartness because the cocktail could have leaned a little bit sweet, but the hibiscus always brings a little bit of acidity to it and astringency that I thought played really nice with the cocktail. So It was really pretty. I think there's a picture somewhere.
Well, while we're working through some of the technical issues we're having in the background,
Yeah.
I got a few questions for you.
Okay, sweet.
What have been some garnishes that have just blown your mind? Like you talked a lot about like memory and connecting to that. Do you have a specific memory of like maybe the first garnish that just really rocked your world?
Man, the first garnish that rocked my world. Yeah, this was at like a super molecular place, molecular gastronomy place, and they made pretty much this fog that also had a scent to it. So it was
Oh
like,
yeah.
of course, like dry ice with like something like it was like something floral or nutty, and it just created like I felt like I was like miniature me standing next to this cocktail in like a cocktail forest, and I was like, "This is amazing."
That is the best
I'm in this
description.
world.
I love that. Like it made you feel small in the presence of something bigger, which is like what ambition for a garnish to do that. I mean that's something
Exactly.
you can't do with minimalism for
No.
sure. I love that. I mean, I've had really infused smoke smells, things like that before that absolutely transport you to a time and a place. I've
Yeah.
had peat smoke and things like that in cocktails, but that idea that it made you feel smaller in its presence is unbelievable and really cool.
Yeah. I just
Um,
was like, woo.
all right, so I am notorious for like loving whimsy, right? Like I said, I wanted to make I had a garnish on a menu that was a coloring book. I've had like Nilla wafers as a garnish for a cocktail that I wrote that Amy Ward wrote that I named Amy Ward is smarter than Michael.
Yeah.
But like all kinds of like I like the silliness, right? One thing that I always like to ask people like yourself, how do you edit yourself when you're garnishing? Like, how do you keep yourself between like whimsy and too much and that kind of elegance? Because, like, for instance, the second cocktail you made with the dill and the clove, like that is a well edited presentation where you could have gone in much bigger direction.
Absolutely. Well, I would think I was thinking about how far is this no longer the cocktail that you intended it to be, right? Is this taking away too much from your cocktail? I would say also like, are the ingredients you're incorporating into the garnish, are they playing well with the cocktail, or are they contrasting and butting heads? If you start to get to a point that something is butting heads with your cocktail, I say stop. Let's start pulling some stuff back a little bit. I think also if it feels just a little too wasteful, let's also probably rethink about how this can be differently. I think here, I always like a little pinch of something on top of like a very, we like to call this like look at that froth, like something frothy just needs a little like dollop of green. But
Well, like
I
that
could
color
have gone bigger.
contrast, right?
Yes, in the color contrast, exactly. But yeah, I think as long as you have to constantly think about, is this complimenting or is this distracting? Because at the end of the day, it is about the cocktail itself. And so if you are putting yourself in your guest shoes and you sit down, even though you might think it's cool, like take yourself outside of it being like super cool and super great and just kind of think, will this be distracting to the guest, or will this be like, oh wow? I think also something that's just like, garnishing should be that final act. So it shouldn't be like something that's like, now sit and go through this garnish for 2 minutes. Maybe something, should be something quick, something that can be constant and complimentary to your cocktail. So yeah.
Well, and for service too, right? Like you want to make sure that you don't design a cocktail that everyone hates to make.
Right. Exactly.
I've
Exactly.
been known to do that one or two times where I'm like, oh yeah, and then lightning's gonna strike, and
It's gonna be fucking great.
all right. And then my last kind of question is,
Sorry, I said
so
that for you.
no, it happens. We're talking about beautiful garnish. We're talking about these bigger ideas. How do you build a cocktail to justify the cost of kind of a more elaborate cocktail, right? Or like cocktail garnish, where I know a lot of people have, the ambition for use of, let's say, like a smoking gun or freezing a balloon, things like that. Like there's labor and there's cost associated with that. Where do you start when you're thinking through that?
I actually start of like where my establishment is, right? What does my establishment give? Like, what is the meaning of my establishment first, right? I mean, we can get really nerdy, but is your bar the place to get nerdy at? Like that's where I think you should like start there, right? These are things that you should definitely think about because like if you're a neighborhood bar, you probably want to do some of these things on the lower maintenance side, lower so that your guests that are just walking in from their homes have something that's just like the pricing isn't something that's going to deter them away from that. So I definitely that's where I would start with the cost of all these things. I also just like that's where you start to play with what minimalism is for, right? And why minimalism has kind of come to its fruition is one, low cost, low waste types of things. I would think that really, really, really using as many parts of all the ingredients of your cocktails as you can also helps with, justifying that cost, justifying what's going on with that cocktail. Um, and doing things like infusions and oils, rapid infusions. I think letting stuff sit in, alcohol for months at a time, like those types of things elongate that use of that product that you're using. So I think that for me is where I would start and go with cost of garnishing, if that answers the question.
Right. And like designing garnishes that are not necessarily maybe buying new items, but repurposing
Right.
the waste products of items, which I think is definitely, gets you into more of a creative mode. I always say the more rigid the box, the more creative you have to be to live inside of it. And if your rigid box is like, hey, we're going to only use the stuff we have here, but we want to elevate our garnish game, sometimes it's great to sit as a team and be like, all right, what crazy things can we do with mint stems or
Right.
like leftover things like your mango peel, for instance. So I think
Absolutely.
that's amazing.
I think
So
that's super good. And I think also like if you do want to get into toys, I mean, look at your budget and probably buy one per year, depending on how expensive the toy is, and then reuse that motherfucker. I mean, that stuff. Sorry, y'all.
So question then with that, what's your like what toy do you have to have for like what's your favorite garnish toy?
Oh, that is a good question. I do love fire, but I would say my favorite though is definitely my ISI. I love my ISI because you can do so many things in it. I mean, creams, carbonating a cocktail, which also plays along with touch, and then just having bubbles of the whole cocktail is really great. Creating spritzes and sprays, that's really really huge for me too. So I would definitely say my ISI because it just you could do so many things in it.
Yeah, I for me it's a refractometer because I feel like freezing things and changing textures and things based on temperature is something that I'm always kind of obsessed with. I went through a whole period making ice cream and getting that texture perfect, but that I don't know how to make cocktails without one now. I'm kind of a baby like that. I need all my science with me. Well, I apologize, Kapri. I know that we had an extra layer to this presentation, which is sound. Unfortunately, it looks like we are unable to play the sound that we had. There's a beautiful video that we can post in this later. But do you want to speak a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So the next part I was going to say is incorporating sound into your cocktail. This isn't seen that much, I would say, in the cocktail world, but can really just overall elevate the experience of the room that you have going on. Some examples that we're putting on top of that is that sound can be used in different types of ways, right? So I've been to a bar called Silver Lion where they bring your cocktail over and then there's a balloon and you're like, what's going on? And they light the fire and the balloon pops and you're just like it shocks you a little bit. You're like, whoo, okay. And I think that kind of like real quick rush of adrenaline kind of goes into tasting that cocktail also. You could do things where possibly making your cocktail into some kind of instrument. I know that's weird, but like, what if that cocktail it had like little tiny like spoons that became a little drum. And you're like, this is because of this song. I think sound helps to tell stories a lot with your cocktail. And I think if you're a place that really wants to dive into stories, you have a theme of the menu, I think that's a way that you can really play with garnishing of your cocktail. And the video that I was going to show was actually from a while back, from 2018, in the Columbia Room, where they started to mix their cocktail with a sound bath. And it was just really pretty visually, which is one, right? So that wasn't the finishing act of their cocktail, but seeing that while you're in the Columbia Room could already have you thinking about that cocktail before it comes to you. So like midway garnishing, I guess. Or also, what if you have because their sound bath was pretty huge, but even having like a miniature one, a miniature sound bowl where you can bring it to the table and the guests could do it themselves. Would that be kind of a lot for the room? Possibly. You could also just be like, okay, here's your one time around, and take that away from them. But it's just a way to be interactive and bring people into the storyline of your cocktail, which once again, transporting someone to another place. Is what we want to do when we're giving experiences. I've also had people bring miniature speakers over with their cocktail because there's a song that goes along with it. So it kind of just like amping up the environment. And also the playlist that you play during the day, during the whole shift, can also play as its own garnish in a way throughout the whole night. If you have music that is vibing to all people, that could just create an environment that people want to stay in and immerse themselves in. So that's how I think sound can be incorporated. And pretty much that is my class. Talk about ways to entice your guests with all of their sensory overloads, which I love, and just having fun with what you have, reusing your ingredients, getting the longevity out of them, or even buying new equipment and new toys can also just kind of push up your cocktail. So hopefully you're inspired to do some more things, do some fun things, even if it's for yourself at home. So
I'm going to give a challenge to the people watching. If you take any of this information and make a sound bath for your cocktail, or a fog that makes you feel small next to a cocktail, go ahead and tag that right there. Go ahead and tag Kapri real quick. And I wanted to see what an impact that has, because sometimes thinking through that stuff really matters. So,
yes.
Well, I appreciate you so much for being here and talking with us today.
Thank you.
Make sure you're following Kapri online. Make sure you follow Chocolate City's Best as well. How else can they get a hold of you?
You can definitely follow at chocolate.cities.best on Instagram. There it is. Also through Soul Palette Podcast on Instagram. My Facebook is just Kapri Robinson, which you'll see there. And then my email is just KapriRobinson@chocolatecitiesbest.com.
Just giving out your email, huh?
Yeah, you can email me. Which you can also find on my Instagram. I put my email on there too. So.
I love it. Accessibility, we appreciate it. I just want you to get bombarded with wonderful garnish photos.
I hope so. I really do. I love garnishes. I think they're beautiful and can be done well, and just great.
Well, thank you so much for being here. If you're watching it at home, make sure that you follow us on Facebook. That's how you find out about wonderful classes like this. Like I said, if you like us, then it pops up in your reminders. Hey, we're going live, which is a really fun way to do that. And then last, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. There you can see this class and others like it in the future, which is super fun. I mean, we have a catalog in there of amazing classes. Kapri's done a few with us that I think are absolutely spectacular. And then, of course, follow us at PDXCW on Instagram, where you can see photos and live streams and all that fun stuff there as well. We're doing some really great programming with Women's Month that we'll be doing live from there as well. So, Kapri, thank you so much for everything today. I'm so sad I can't be there to smell your drinks, but I soon, hopefully, we'll be together to do so.
Absolutely. So soon. E-commerce on its way, so I'm excited.
That's right. So we will see you soon, and everyone have a wonderful day.
Bye, y'all. Have a great day. Enjoy yourselves. Garnish, garnish, garnish.